So I know you don't seem to feel much now, but I know what work is. Don't you worry.
Good evening. I would like to ask everyone to have a seat if you would.
I was making
want to get our program going here.
They were sitting there and doing shit. I was doing
and great socializing and networking is a big part of our night. We want to respect everybody's time and the program rolling along. So if you could, find your seat, get that last beverage, and find your seat, please. Once again, if you can find your seat, we want to get our program started for the evening. As we go forward, that I know you're going to enjoy. So, we have a chance to finish grabbing the last items from the food booths at the bar. And as you grab your seat.
I think it was more the like the responses and the back and forth.
Jesse just sat down with 30 babies. Wow.
I'm usually the one that keeps talking at the table, so trust me, I understand this. We do want to get going tonight, so we're going to go ahead and proceed with the program. As you finish grabbing things, have a seat at the table, but we want to get rolling. Good evening. My name is Jim Bishop from Western Michigan Community Bank. I have the privilege of being the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees for the Community Foundation of Holland, New Zealand, and to welcome you here tonight on behalf of the entire board, and thank you for spending your evening with us. It's hard to believe, but we have set yet another record for our annual event with 725 friends gathering here tonight to celebrate philanthropy in our community. And we are honored that so many people care about the success of our community foundation and share in our mission that our community should thrive today, tomorrow, and forever. See, but the Saturday, Mike and Melissa Edenhouse opened this great place to us, and everyone was curious and wanted to check it out. I'm just glad that we have it, and I'm glad they got my boat in here to find it out straight. It does remind me, though, of the story of the couple that went out on the boat for a few-day cruise, and they were out having a great time day one, and the weather turned bad very quickly, and they were tossed and turned in the storm, and they beached their boat on some remote island, and while thankful for their health and safety, the wife was a little unnerved about this, and she said to her husband, the captain, who was sitting there having a cocktail, and said, "How can you be so calm at a time like this?" He said, "What do you mean?" She said, "We only had provisions for a couple days of water and food. We have no medical supplies. If one of us gets sick or injured, what are we going to do? How can you sit there?" He said, "Well, dear, remember 3 years ago when our business did real well, and we sat down and talked about it and said, let's share this great fortune, and we donated $100,000 to the Community Foundation." He said, "Yeah." And then 2 years ago when we sold some real estate, and the capital gains we had on that was just a blessing, and we sat down again and decided to double it, and we gave them $200,000. "Yeah, I remember that too." And he said, "This past year, the stock market came screaming back, and we're very fortunate." And he sat down and decided to double it again and give the Community Foundation $400,000. "Yeah, but what's that got to do with us right now?" And he looked at his wife and said, "Well, I happen to know that it's fundraising time at the Community Foundation, so they'll find us." But all kidding aside, we are blessed to have the Community Foundation to celebrate. It was billionaire industrialist Andrew Carnegie who was known to say, "It is far more difficult to give away money wisely than to have earned it in the first place." And that's especially true for him, since New York City did not have a community foundation until 5 years after he passed in 1919. So he and John D. Rockefeller employed what they call targeted philanthropy, or using their resources wisely. And that's ultimately what the Community Foundation is doing for our donors. The theme for tonight is Ripples of Hope. We celebrate tonight each of you and the hope that you help create for many in this community through your generosity and support of this foundation. I'm proud to work alongside a very strong board of directors who are dedicated to stewarding this organization and the resources on your behalf to make wise investments for our community. I would like to ask our directors to stand wherever you're at the table, stand and just celebrate right now. Can you celebrate our directors? Stay standing. I'm going to go off script here real quick. Stay standing, because I know the time and the resources it takes for the directors to do this, and they can do this because they have support at home. It's a partnership, and I want to ask the spouses of significant others of our directors stand. We want to say thank you and celebrate you for this too. Thank you all. It's great working with you guys. And our staff at the Community Foundation is truly one of the best. These folks work tirelessly all year long. They lead the organization forward, create the biggest community impact for the resources that we have, and serve you all through the year. So I just want to say thank you to our entire staff of the Community Foundation, wherever you're at. Can you stand and be celebrated right now, wherever you're at? Not easy to pull together an event for this many people, this big of a group. So I want to say a special thanks to the amazing Lena Pearson, our communication associate, for her hard work and attention. Friends, tonight we celebrate. But before I invite our Vice President of Development and Donor Services, Colleen Hale, up to the podium to continue the celebration, I want to leave you with one request and one thought. My request is that you make sure that Colleen has your contact information. Get on our website, or shoot her an email, phone call, or stop in at her office on 8th Street in Holland. You never know. She might be able to save you from a terrible situation and defeat your boat. But make sure she has it, okay? And the thought I want to leave you with is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "It is one of the most beautiful compensations of life that no person can sincerely try to help another without also helping themselves." So, ladies and gentlemen, Colleen Hale.
Thank you so much, Jim. We appreciate your leadership. Wow! Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Hale. I am the Vice President of Development and Donor Services for the Community Foundation. And I just want to thank you all for being here tonight at our Celebration of Philanthropy. We have so much to celebrate, so thank you. First of all, I hope you all enjoyed your grazing meal this evening. I'm sure that you got your steps in. And I just want, if you haven't had a chance while you were planning your meal strategy, to just please take a minute and look over your program and all of the generous restaurants who donated their time, talent, and of course, delicious food this evening. Will you? Thank you. Thank you to these restaurants, their owners, and their staff for making tonight truly a culinary experience. We appreciate it. There are so many individuals and companies that help make tonight possible, and then there are a few that we just truly could not do it without. So I'd like to express thanks to Gilmour Catering. They have been helping us plan this evening for months, and they have been working tirelessly, many staff this evening behind the scenes, making sure that the event runs seamlessly. So please help me in thanking Gilmour Catering. And the wonderful and talented Robin Allison. Oh my goodness. And her entire team at the rental company. We are so incredibly grateful. This space looks beautiful. It's hard to believe that we're in a boat barn, other than the fact that there's like a 100-foot yacht right there. That makes it pretty obvious. But the space is the way that it is because of the creativity, hours of planning, late hours, and execution of the rental company, Robin, and her entire staff. Thank you so much. So, for any of you who have attended this event before, I hope you feel very comfortable tonight. We are so grateful to be in this wonderful space. As the event continued to grow year over year, it was of paramount importance to us that we were able to welcome every single person that wanted to join in this celebration of our community. But it was becoming quite a challenge. There are very few places in this community that can hold more than 700 friends gathering together. And so when our amazing board member, Brett Doctor, said, well, I might just have this friend who has this business, Mike Evenhouse, I think, we could maybe have it there. I'll introduce you. And so there we were, Mike, Lena, and myself, having our best pitch ever to give to Mike Evenhouse as to why this event was amazing and why it was so important for our community. And we walk in, and I think we barely got beyond, I hope you will consider it. He's like, yeah, sure, of course, why wouldn't I do it? And so I was just actually talking tonight to my friend Phil Miller, who I said I learned many valuable lessons from. One being that once you've closed the deal, stop selling. So we just said thank you and tried to hide our giddiness. And I've got to say, Mike, Melissa, Evenhouse, and the entire Emmy Yachts family, thank you so much for welcoming us tonight and for your generosity. I would also like to thank the many generous sponsors of tonight's event. Their contributions both help us put on a great celebration and continue our work in the community. This is the only event that we host to raise dollars for our operating budget, and so the financial support we receive tonight through the ticket sales and through the sponsorships are very important to us. So I'd like you to take a minute to look at your program and also at the screen behind me, and please help me in celebrating all of our table and champion level sponsors. We have 60 sponsors this evening. Isn't that amazing? Thank you so much. I would like to say a special thanks to our investor level sponsors this evening. Elhart Automotive, Fifth Third Bank, Gentex Corporation, Gilmour Catering, Holland Litho, our print sponsor tonight and all year, the Howard Miller Company, the Mental Health Foundation, Padmos, and the rental company. Thank you. Our legacy sponsor for this evening's event is our friends at Warner, Norcross, and Judd. The foundation has a close relationship with Warner. We have been working together for many years to help individuals and families accomplish their charitable goals. We know that Warner is such a generous company and involved in so many ways in our community. To have their support year after year of this event means a lot to us. So I have asked my good friend, Jennifer Remendino, if she would be willing to share why Warner partners with the Community Foundation. Thank you, Jennifer.
So I had to bribe Mike for the handheld because then, as you can imagine, these things don't work very well. So a little different for me. So thank you for being with us tonight. It's an honor to host or to sponsor this great celebration. And this is our 5th year sponsoring the fall celebration. And why do I and my partners and the firm continue to sponsor this event through this sponsorship? And it's really simple. It's because we believe in what the foundation is doing. We believe in what they're doing now, and we believe what they're going to do in the future. Tonight, we will celebrate a record year of $20 million in contributions to the foundation. And you've already heard that this is a record turnout for the number of people joining us this evening. You will hear that the community's endowment is doing great things in our community and the work of the other nonprofits that it's contributing to. You will also hear that the Community Foundation hopes to build reserves for the future. It's difficult to predict the needs of our community 10 or 20 years from now. Think back 20 years. Where were you and how different were things? For me, I was starting my freshman year at MSU, meeting my college roommate, my husband, and a group of friends that remain some of my closest today. We celebrated Tom Izzo and Michigan State's basketball team winning the national championship that year. I had never owned a cell phone, and I had just bought my first computer. I was really too young to worry much about Y2K, and I couldn't predict that in 2 short years, I'd be evacuated out of the College of Business as the World Trade Center collapsed. I really had no idea what the future would hold. And if today I look forward 20 years, the same would be true. Author Nelson Henderson wrote, "The true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not expect to sit." As an estate planning and business attorney, I enjoy helping clients plan the legacies that they will leave, getting to walk alongside them down the road of life, planning for the unexpected and the often unknown. We know to do the best we can do with the information we have available, but it's hard to predict the future. I can't begin to imagine what our Lakeshore community will need 20, 40, 60 years from now. I am hopeful by then we've tackled the challenges of mental health, affordable housing, but I know other things will need resources. I am grateful that there are thoughtful supporters that has the trust in the Community Foundation to make gifts for the future. By contributing to the community's endowment without knowing how those resources are really going to be used. And we at Warner are delighted to invest now to ensure that the dollars needed for sustaining and expanding programs in future generations will be available. It is always a pleasure to work with my good friends Mike and Colleen and the entire team at the Community Foundation. We are honored to partner with such an incredible organization. And we look forward to our continued relationship and working together to help guide the businesses, nonprofits, and other organizations in this community make Holland such a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for helping build the Community Foundation and build our community. Please join me and my colleagues at Warner in thanking the Community Foundation and all that they do.
Taking her on the road. That story about thinking back 20 years and thinking forward 20 years is what tonight's going to be about. So keep that picture in your mind, because this is really at the core of who the Community Foundation is. But really, Jennifer, Warner Norcross team, thank you. As Colleen mentioned, we really appreciate working with you guys. Great partnership, and a lot of folks are benefited by the work that we do together. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming out tonight. For those of you who have been coming to this event for a while, it's pretty cool to see over the last 7, 8, 9 years since we switched to this format of this style of event. This thing has grown pretty significantly. 275, 300 folks the first time we kind of went to this model. Now over 700. And when you get a chance to stand up here on a Thursday night and think about all the people that can be doing lots of things with their time, and the fact they chose to be here, I'll just speak for my staff and the board of trustees. It's very both energizing and motivating to have you all show up and know that what we try to do day in and day out, that you care, that you're watching, that you want it to go well, and that's motivating. So thank you for that encouragement. And I'll tell you, when we think about the foundation and its mission, having that accountability does matter. So we are a public foundation. Lots and lots of donors contribute. We're doing our best to steward those resources, but we need feedback. We need folks to be keeping an eye on us to make sure we're doing the right things for the community. So that, you being here tonight is part of that. The other thing I like to see when I come to this event, now that we have 700 people, is there's quite a wide variety of people here tonight. There are some new faces that I have to believe this might be their first introduction into who the Community Foundation is. We also have folks that have been coming for decades and supporting the foundation. And when you see that balance of new folks and longtime supporters, that's a pretty cool thing. So for those new faces, I at least got to get our mission out there. For those that have heard it before, you've heard this, but I'll get to the main show in a second. What does the Community Foundation do? We don't just put up lights and go in a big boat shed and throw a good party. There's lots more to what we do. Our mission is to ensure that the Holland-Zeeland area thrives today, tomorrow, and forever. We do that by building our community's endowment to support high-impact charitable projects, by providing services to donors to help them achieve their charitable goals, and by leading and partnering on community-level initiatives. Long mission statement, so you usually hear me do the truncated version of 4 words. Community endowment, donor service. 2 core parts of what the foundation does. So if you're new and someone says, what event did you go to last night? The Community Foundation. What do they do? Just remember the 4 words. Community endowment, donor service. That's good enough. But you'll notice we have a 3rd part of the mission statement that we don't often talk about quite as much, and it was the lead and partner on community-level initiatives. Community leadership. If I went 6 words, I do community endowment, donor service, and community leadership. Currently, we spend most of our community leadership efforts around affordable housing right now. You've likely heard about some of the things that we're involved in. Housing Next is a big one that we have been meaningfully involved in. We most recently helped launch a housing pre-development fund called the Holland-Zeeland Housing Pre-Development Fund. And so we're putting a little bit of extra leadership time, energy, and effort into affordable housing right now. It's a big topic. But we're not going to talk about that one tonight. The second, kind of working our way backwards of the mission, is donor service work. We're also not going to talk about that tonight because we covered that one at our spring luncheon. So if you're at our spring luncheon, you heard us talk about our donor service work. You heard us talk about stories of how we work with professional advisors, like the folks at Warner, Norcross, and Judd, with families, with companies, to help them achieve their charitable goals. And how we do that is we offer various tools, various resources. We offer donor advised funds. We offer estate charitable management services. We offer philanthropic consulting. All of these are just tools in our toolbox, really trying to ensure that donors feel really good about their giving and it's making the impact that they want to make. Now, a quick aside on the donor service, because someone mentioned 20 million. I think it was Jennifer or maybe Jim in the remarks saying they were going to celebrate 20 million. I'll do a quick aside on that. Last year, 2018, was our biggest year in our history. We received $20 million in gifts to donor service funds. So remember my 3 lines here: community leadership, donor service, and working backwards. $20 million in contributions came into donor service funds to the Community Foundation, which is remarkable, the generosity of this community. But you heard us when we told that story, that the best part of that story was those are dollars that have to go out to nonprofits. So any dollar that comes to the Community Foundation has to end up in the hands of a nonprofit organization. And I'm here to tell you that it's pretty neat to see that influx of capital in 2018 is turning around and heading back out to the community. So this is where I don't have the official, audited numbers here, and be careful. But I can say this for assurance: this will be our biggest grant-making year in history. And we are on track to cross the $10 million mark in terms of total grants that go back into the community from the Community Foundation just in 2019. A lot thanks to that big year last year in the donor service fund. So pretty cool, yeah. Okay, so for not talking about community leadership or donor service. What are we talking about? We're talking about the community's endowment. And specifically, we're going to talk about the community's endowment in connection to our theme, Ripples of Hope. What we're going to explore tonight is how our community's endowment is part of a community-wide effort to create ripples of hope for those individuals who are struggling with some sort of mental health condition. We're going to start that journey tonight by watching a video.
My brother Wayne and I had been partners for 32 years in owning our automobile dealership. 5 years ago, my brother went into a pretty deep depression. He loved to boat, he loved to ski, but in the summer of 2014, he didn't put his boat in the water. Unfortunately, we lost my brother Wayne to depression by way of suicide on March 27, 2015. Immediately afterwards, I was filled with guilt. I couldn't sleep at night. I thought there should be a way for people to recognize warning signs for people that are going through mental illness. I quickly found this program called Be Nice. That's the tool by which people can help others get professional help. So Be Nice really resonated with our family. We brought mental illness awareness by way of providing funds to the schools through the Wayne L. Hart Be Nice Memorial Fund, which is a donor-advised fund of the Holland Zealand Community Foundation. Thankfully, this is growing, and we are able to provide this education not only for our schools, but for our faith communities. This is not a program. This is a culture that is part of our dynamic of West Michigan, and we're creating an environment by which we can improve a life or potentially save a life.
There are so many people who fall through the cracks for getting mental health care. So we have made a commitment to the community to make sure nobody has to go without professional counseling. We were seeing so many kids and teens coming in crisis, and they just couldn't get to a therapist's office. So we knew we had to do as much of this as possible. And now we're in 30 schools in 7 school districts, and we've seen over 400 kids this year that might not have ever seen a therapist had it not been for this amazing collaborative grant. The beauty of the Community Foundation is that they're able to match the people who would like to give and support mental health for kids, for the neighbors. And so being able to send these therapists right into the school to see these students has been amazing. That's a really beautiful thing, to be able to know I can go to a place and they're going to take care of me. That's what we want everyone to be able to have.
Everything that we do in public health is focusing on the impact that we can make on the entire population. In the last community health needs assessment we did, mental health rose to the clear top as the most pressing and the most prevalent priority for our community. Our clients have health conditions that their doctors aren't able to address because they have life conditions and social conditions that are coming alongside that. Pathways to Better Health is a community health worker program. A community health worker is uniquely positioned to establish a relationship with each client because they have a real deep understanding of the challenges that people face in the community. Since the program's inception in 2017, we've had referrals from up to 800 people. The Community Foundation of Holland Zealand has been a tremendous partner. They have these grant dollars in their endowment that are flexible, that can meet the changing and emerging needs within our community. People who experience poor mental health are afraid to talk about it, and therefore it leads to further isolation. It's so critically important that we take away the stigma. We're increasing access points for people to get help. We're talking about mental health openly. And if we can prevent things and we can work on programs and a healthcare system for everyone in our community, we can make a difference across the board.
You know, my brother was a great leader in our community, and I think he'd be proud of the way that our community has come together, because when we band together volunteering our time, our talents and treasures, we can really make an impact.
There is hope. There is hope. And that truly is the greatest gift that a community can give to all the people who live here.
This is you all. Each and every one of you that has ever given to the Communities Endowment is a part of creating that hope that was talked about in that video. This is exactly why the Communities Endowment exists. To be able to respond to the changing needs of our community. Because as Jennifer mentioned, the needs are going to change. 10 years ago, mental health wasn't at the top of a lot of people's priority giving lists, but things have changed. The data and our shared lived experience has showed us that a significantly increasing number of people are being impacted by mental illness and having mental health conditions. We knew this data, we had this experience, we knew we needed to respond, but it was only because of the hundreds and thousands of donors that have given to the Communities Endowment in the past that we had the resources to respond. So over the last 4 years, how did we respond? The last 4 years alone, this is just Communities Endowment grant making, not donor services, just Communities Endowment, we were able to give $750,000 worth of grants to 10 different organizations and initiatives focusing specifically on bringing hope to those impacted by mental health and illness. $750,000, $750,000, largest amount that we've given to a specific cause in the last 4 years, a cause that wasn't high on our list 10 years ago. But what does it mean to bring hope? Bringing hope means eliminating the cost barrier to access professional counseling like Mosaic Counseling does. It means training all of our local students in the Be Nice approach to suicide prevention like the Mental Health Foundation of West Michigan does. It means training adults in schools to be able to recognize when a student might be struggling like the Zealand Spectrum Hospital Blue Envelope program is doing. Bringing hope means increasing access to professional resources by opening new facilities that removes the transportation barrier, like Winning at Home and Beacon of Hope have done. It means ensuring that counselors are available on-site at schools, like Midtown Counseling and Mosaic Counseling have done. It means having a liaison between the hospital and the school system to ensure that care is continual back and forth for a student who is struggling, like Holland Hospital is doing. Bringing hope means providing affordable housing with support services for adults with mental illness, like Ladder Homes does. It means walking alongside individuals, helping them navigate the healthcare system so they can receive the best care possible, like our community health workers do through the county's Pathways to Better Health program. It means changing the stigma around talking about mental health and remembering that mental illness affects all of us, regardless of socioeconomic status, age, race, gender, religion. But bringing hope at its core is changing the stigma, at its core is creating a culture where people are comfortable asking for help because they know that there are resources available to them. That is what these 10 grants have done. That is what the Communities Endowment has helped to make possible. And I would love to be able to recognize the organizations that are actually doing the work on the ground. So we have representatives from the 10 organizations here tonight. If you could all stand, I'd love us to give you a round of applause for making all of this work happen and creating the ripples of hope day to day. Please stand so we can recognize you. Now, I'm going to circle back to one person, and you saw him in the video, Jeff Elhart. And the reason I'm going to spend a few minutes here on Jeff is because this tonight is a celebration of philanthropy. And in my mind, Jeff is a model and an inspiration of what it means to be a philanthropic leader. The way he generously commits his time, talent, and treasure for any cause he cares about is truly inspiring. You see him write articles in the paper, in the Sentinel. You see him give presentations to groups and nonprofits and businesses and churches. You see him raise money to make sure that all of our schools have access to the Be Nice programming. You even see him convince businesses to put it in their email signatures. You see it on billboards. You see t-shirts all over the place. Jeff, at his core, he is using his platform for the betterment of others. And there is no greater philanthropic act than that, in my opinion. So Jeff, in honor of your tireless commitment to this work, and also in recognition of this week being National Suicide Prevention Awareness Week, I'm doing away with the suit coat tonight, and I'm repping your Be Nice shirt. No, Jeff's good. Yeah. So everyone's got to have one of these. But, Jeff, now you get to stay sitting. I would love for us, as a community, to show Jeff tonight how much we appreciate the role that he and his family have played to increase awareness and decrease the stigma of talking about mental health and all the work around suicide prevention. I think we owe them a major, major applause. Please join me in celebrating Jeff and his family. Now, it's not just Jeff. I'm also here to remind you all that this hope is possible because of all of us. Because many of you have trusted the Community Foundation to be good stewards of our community's endowment in the past. And because you believed it was important that the Holland-Zeeland area was always going to have these kinds of flexible resources to respond to needs and opportunities as they arise. Flexible resources that can tackle any issue that may crop up or appear or become a top 2 or 3 priority in our community. And the beauty of the Community Endowment is it's lots of us pooling resources together for a collective response. The other key piece is an endowment. It's an endowment that ensures that those resources will respond both now and for generations to come. We are blessed in this community to have very, very generous philanthropic families and companies. But I'm convinced that continuing to build our community's endowment over time will ensure that regardless of what happens with various companies and families, that the Holland-Zeeland area will always be thriving and always have a bright future if we do this well. It takes a commitment to give to an endowment. We were recently cleaning out our basement storage, and we were looking through a lot of old stuff. And I have to tell you, every time I do that, I am just so inspired by the early folks who thought to have this vision of building a community's endowment, of having a community foundation. Because let me tell you, those first few gifts, they weren't near as fun as when you give now. Because now you think about getting the community endowment, we can tell the impact of the story. When you're building it down with those first 100,000, that first million, you're turning around and you're not giving away quite as much. But when you think to the future, when you plant the tree, that's going to benefit somebody else. Now you end up with 20 million in the community endowment. You do things like this. That's what this is about. It's believing that if we do this together, that this community is important enough that we aren't going to take any chances, that we want to make sure there are resources to respond to whatever comes up in the future. So thank you to each and every one of you that has contributed in the past to the community endowment. But I also want to thank those of you that have made a future commitment. So one way the community endowment grows is by estate gift commitments. When you, at the end of your life, say, I want to give back to the community that did so well for me. And our recent campaign, the Today, Tomorrow, Forever campaign, added 100 individuals and couples to that list of people who made that future commitment. It's a trusting commitment. It's a big commitment. And we really cherish those gifts. We had the opportunity to celebrate some of them earlier this evening. And I just want to make sure you all know that just because the campaign is done and we hit our 100, that's not a closed group. There's unlimited space in our Bridge Builder Society. We can get a bigger tent next year for the Bridge Builder Society, no problem. So if anyone else thinks that, maybe it's something we should think about doing, Colleen and I can make it real easy. We can do it tonight if you really want. Just come and find us afterwards, give us a call. But in all seriousness, I do hope you consider, is there a role as you think about your life, is there a role of leaving some resources back to this community through the community's endowment? So many have in recent years, and we are so grateful. And I hope others consider it as well. In the end, it is simple to say that we are honored by the trust of those who have given the community's endowment and humbled by the responsibility to use these resources wisely. Now, I've actually saved the best for last. So the most important people that we need to be thinking about tonight aren't donors, the community foundation, and the nonprofit organizations. While each of those matter, you all matter, the foundation plays a role, and our nonprofit organizations play a very critical role. The people who have the greatest responsibility for bringing hope day in and day out are the people on the front lines. It's the counselors, the therapists, the community health workers, who are directly meeting the needs of our fellow community members and ourselves. The ones who bring their professional expertise, their compassion, their dedication to serving others, and their commitment to helping us all find a way forward. Many of us can think of a professional that has played a meaningful role in our lives, both for our personal well-being and our mental health. So tonight, we wanted to invite a few of those frontline individuals to this event to ensure that they got the spotlight they deserve. Our theme is Ripples of Hope, and I can't think of anyone in our community who creates more of those ripples than these professionals. You know who you are. We invited you. If you could please stand, I'd love for all of us to share our appreciation with you for what you do day in and day out. Please stand, Stephen. Thank you. So we put them in the middle very strategically. So what I'd love for you all to do when this whole thing is done is just flood over there. And you may not know who they are, you may not know their names, but just share your appreciation. Because in all seriousness, sometimes these big events and the people that kind of get to celebrate and clap and get all the glory are boards and executive directors and all these kinds of folks. But those are the folks that are making this all happen day in and out. So I hope that you all are just flooded with support this night. I hope you carry that applause and whatever support you're going to hear from people tonight with you when you meet with clients, because we're cheering you on. We know that you are intervening and creating significant positive momentum in people's lives. And so just carry that with you and know that we're all cheering you on and grateful for what you do each and every day. It's a good night. We really appreciate you all being here. And I just hope that while we all know there are significant challenges in our community, I hope that tonight was an opportunity for you to celebrate the good work being done, the lives that are being positively impacted, and your critical role in making that change possible. That is ripples of hope. Lots of needs, but we can create hope when we bind together and do this work together. So one last shout out from me to the Even House family for letting us use your space. It was perfect. I'm so grateful for you. I'm glad that you all could be here. There's going to be some coffee and desserts still here in this area, so stay as long as you want. But this is it. Stay, enjoy yourselves, support these folks, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. Have a good night.
I'll start you off, Jack. got to play with him. It's like really, really rootsy, funky soul. Her husband and wife as well. Real really cool. Great artists. Yeah, they came to like
Yeah, right, yeah. So, but I had somebody else was up there too.
Yeah, they won an award for their album. There was no award. Nobody got to do it.
No, nobody.
So back in the day,
Everybody fully clothes.
yeah. That was a lot of fun. This is why I think he's so well. It's because he's like a jazz guy. He plays a ton of soul. But he grew up like I did, like listening to a bunch of like hardcore Hopefully the kids are back.